In the previous chapter, we mentioned some considerations for creating domains, and one of them was that Dante devices can only be enrolled in one domain at a time. By default, each Dante domain that you create is isolated from other Dante domains and from the unmanaged domain. This is by design. We know that DDM helps with a wide range of enhancements, from security to organizing your devices. Each domain will elect its own leader clock. This is what allows you to be configuring one domain, perhaps even changing the clock settings and not have it affect the other domains. If you remember from our Dante certification course on clocking, everything needs to be synced to a common clock leader for audit to pass. But what about those situations where you want audit to pass between domains? Well, believe me, it does come up. Remember our convention center project with the single domain North meeting rooms? What if the customer wanted each meeting room to be a separate domain? And what if they wanted to keep the common DSP in its own domain, restricting access to only certain users? Creating a shared audio group enables you to do this. This feature allows you to share and transmit audio channels from devices to multiple domains, even though you are not actually enrolling that device in those domains. Basically, there are two requirements to share audio between domains. First, we'll need a common clock. And secondly, a pathway needs to exist on the network between the intended source and destination. But don't worry, we're going to go into a lot more detail. Let's first address the issue of getting audio channels to other domains. We use the concept of virtual devices to accomplish this. This means that although devices are still only enrolled in one domain, you are able to create a virtual device component that could appear in multiple domains simultaneously. These virtual devices, along with their channels, can be subscribed by real devices. Any shared transmit channel from these devices will appear in the Dante controller under the transmitter section. It's clearly seen differently as these are colored in green, and you can also assign a unique device name alias on per domain basis. So users in the other domains may better understand what each virtualized device is, and by the way, you can also have aliases for the channel labels as well. Only transmit devices can be placed in multiple domains. To send audio to multiple domains, we need transmit flows. Remember, when designing systems like we have talked about before, flows are a finite resource. And remember as well that you cannot set up Dante receivers in multiple domains. Let's go back to our original example. We have created individual domains for each of the meeting rooms, plus an additional domain for the DSP. So let's create a shared audio group. Once the members of the group are selected and the group is created, the DDM configures the domains in the shared audio groups under a single clock domain. This makes sure that all of the devices across the multiple domains will be in sync. After you create the group and confirm that the clocking across domains has been established, the next step is to go to the devices page in the DDM browser and navigate to the device that you wish to share audio from. If you hang around for a bit more, you will be able to see a live demo where we set this up. We just saw an example where shared audio groups were used to share DSP resources among domains. But what are some other situations where this could be used? Well, there are several scenarios where temporarily shared audio groups can be leveraged for creating a great experience. A good example for this is in a college campus, where we would like to share audio from a sports game or a special performance to a broadcast studio across campus. We could use it also in theaters, where sometimes we need to send audio from performances to various ancillary locations, such as lobbies, green rooms, dressing rooms, and so on. And another very common use case is in overflow situations. Anytime you need to get audio to another system on campus, shared audio groups make it possible. We talked about temporary shared audio groups. There are also plenty of use cases for permanent ones. In addition to allowing you to share audio between domains, it is important to remember that this feature enables you to break up a system to better suit the people who will be using the devices. We've already learned that a DDM-based Dante network allows user creation with specific access rights. And for that, we will require people log into the Dante controller. With shared audio groups, we can establish access to just those channels that a particular person would need access to. For example, in a stadium, you can create a domain for the Bowl PA, but have different domains for the Concourse PA, broadcast booths, private boxes, press box, and interview rooms. Creating a shared audio group allows every device to operate from a common clock there by ensuring in-sync audio, but still only have access to the information that would need. We already know that each domain that we create is isolated by default, in what we refer to as a clock domain. Shared audio groups create a common clock domain, whether or not they are in the same or different subnets. However, there may be situations where your client will want to have different domains, have no need for sharing audio, but wants to have a common clock leader for everything. Well, using shared audio groups allows you to accomplish this. I would just need to create a shared audio group with all of my domains being a member. And DDM gives you a lot of flexibility in configuring clocking. But don't worry, we are going to go in depth into clocking soon. Now, let's get into our demo. The first step in creating a shared audio group is to do some planning. What domains would need to be part of this? What channels would need to be shared? In this example, there is a performance taking place in the campus theater by an artist. This is its own domain in DDM. We would also like to record this in the campus studio. So the other domain to add to this would be campus studio. Navigate to the campus theater domain under domains. Then in the shared audio group section, I need to enter a name, which I would like to call performance. Once typed, I save the changes by hitting enter. Next, we click on the edit option, and we will be able to edit the domains in the group. I would like Campus Studio to be a member of this group. The next step is I need to select the device that I want to share audio from. Select the device from the domain devices list, and if we scroll down, we will see the TX channel sharing area. This will only appear if the device is part of a domain in a shared audio group. We click on the selected domains and channels option. I have the option of sharing all channels, but in this case, I would like to share only specific channels from that device. Here, if you want, you can change the name of the device in order to appear different in the other domain. Note that if you do decide to change the name, the shared name must contain only alphanumeric characters or dash. Follow your established naming conventions to make the shared device easier to follow in the shared domain. You can customize the name of the device and even the specific channels you are choosing to share. In our case, let's shorten it to Theater Mixer. Then in the shared channels, we must select the ones we would like to make available. In this example, the shared channels will be channels 1 and 2. Let's change these names to Stereo Left and Stereo Right. Click OK, and don't forget to save the changes. Let's take a look at Dante Controller. First, let's go to the Campus Theater domain. We will see the mixer front of house as expected. Now, if we go to the Campus Studio domain, we will see that the mixer appears in green. And it is also using the new name that we gave it. If we click on the plus to expand, we see the two channels with the custom names we wanted to share. We can now subscribe to these channels with any device we want. We've seen how easy it is to set up a shared audio group, right? You may be asking yourself, but what's the catch? Nothing really. We do, however, have some design considerations that we need to plan out before using them. The first one is domains can only be in one shared audio group at a time. We can't have a domain be in multiple groups. If this is a concern, just create a larger group. You can always customize which signals are shared along with the shared device name and channel labels on a per domain basis. Next one up is the flow count. This is definitely a concern that needs to be planned and addressed. We need to know if we have enough transmit flows from the real device I am sharing audio from. If the devices are in different subnets, we can only use unicast flows. If they are in the same subnet, we do allow the use of multicast flows. Running out of flows is a common problem depending on the devices you intend to use. The principles of flow count that we have talked about in the other courses must be followed. So take a look back to reinforce those concepts. Now, depending on the complexity of the deployment, you may need to engage AudioNet for design assistance. So reach out to your friendly neighborhood AudioNet salesperson. An important design parameter is clocking. We'll need to ask ourselves questions like, do we have devices in each domain that are capable of being a unicast boundary clock? These are required when creating a multi-subnet domains or a multi-subnet shared audio group. Fortunately, most Dante devices have this capability, but you need to be aware of it. Do we want these domains to be clocked together? Sometimes the answer is no. Typically, that's only a problem if you are clocking to a legacy digital gear or things like MADI or AES-3. Another scenario would be if we were in a stadium and a broadcast truck pull up. The truck probably would not want to clock to us, and we would not want to clock to them. So a shared audio group might not be the right solution if we were trying to simply share some audio channels. The last consideration is routing. If they are in separate subnets, do we have routing in place so the network can be traversed? Now, what if we want to share audio to the unmanaged domain? Can we do that? Well, the official answer is no. But there are some clever workarounds. A popular solution is using a Dante device that has multiple Dante implementations, along with some internal routing and sample rate converters. Some of these Dante bridges have multiple card slots that use high channel count devices like our IP card product. Sometimes a mixing console that has multiple card slots can act as a Dante bridge. Here are a few examples of bridging devices that are useful for this purpose. It is absolutely recommended that we consider enrolling all your Dante devices into DDM. DDM doesn't just facilitate audio pathways. It does a whole lot of things. Having unmanaged devices would take away from all the potential functionality that DDM enables. We do, however, acknowledge that there may be cases where this is not immediately feasible, and hence utilizing bridges can help leverage the functions of DDM while using devices that are unmanaged for whatever reason. What you do with these devices is to have one Dante card or implementation, since they all don't use cards, in the unmanaged network. Take the second Dante card and enroll it into a domain. You will be able to share audio between these systems without affecting clocking in either. That's all about shared audio groups. Hope you have enjoyed it. See you in our next chapter in the DDM admin class.